Find the exact value of the sine negative 135 degrees. Usually I will start with that and I'll do my cast diagram next to it, but to get all three of them done at one place, I will do my cast diagram and do my calculations underneath that. So I start off by saying, instead of going in the positive direction now, I'm going to start at 0 and I'm going to go in the negative direction, so in this direction. So in a clockwise direction. So if that is 0, this will be negative 180 and that will be negative 360. Okay, negative 135, that's 0. That is negative 90, so negative 135 is there. So that gives us negative 135. Now, if I want to find the angle, I always work from my x-axis, so that is my reference angle. So I'm going to say sine of negative 135 degrees equals what? So how do I get to this negative 135 working from my x-axis? I will say that's the same as the sine of negative 180, starting at negative 180, and then coming in a positive direction, so it means it's plus, and that will give us 45. So that's the same as the sine of 180 plus 5. Remember, it's cast. If this is cast, it means that in my third quadrant, sine is negative, so it will be the same as negative the sine of 45 degrees. This is a special triangle, so I'm going to draw my sine, my 45. 45, 1 square root 2, so that equals negative. Sine is opposite over adjacent, 1 over square root 2. So that will be my final answer. For cos minus 240, if I do my cast, let's do the cast a little bit, it's not much bigger. I'm starting at 0. Then I'm going to go negative 180 because I'm coming in a negative direction, and I'm going to finish at negative 360. Okay, I'm going to say cos of negative 240 degrees. If I start at 0 and I go into the negative direction, it will be negative 180, negative 240 will be up there. So cast, I can say, okay, to get from my x-axis to this point, this is going to be negative 240. To get to that point from my x-axis to be acute angle is that. So that's how big my reference angle is going to be. How big is that reference angle? Well, that's the same as the cos of starting at minus 180, going in the negative direction. I'm going in the negative direction, so it's take away 60 degrees. That will give me negative 240. So my reference angle is 60 degrees. So in my second quadrant, cos is negative, so it's negative the cos of 60 degrees. Please notice that this negative and this negative has got nothing to do with what this sign is. This sign all depends in which quadrant I'm ending up. So cos 60 equals, and if I do my 30, 60 degrees triangle, I'm going to do it down here for space. If this is 30 and that is 60, then this is 1, 2, square root 3. So it's going to be negative, there's 60. Cos is adjacent over hypotenuse, so it's 1 over 2. So the answer is negative a half. Last question, C. The tan of negative 330, cast diagram, starting at 0, minus 180, minus 360. So if I say negative 330, it goes from here all the way around, negative 270, all the way to somewhere there. Okay, so that is negative 330. So from there to there is where my reference angle is. So to find out, I'm going to say that is the tan of, this still stays cast. So the tan of negative 330 is equal to the tan of, and how do I get to that line for my x-axis? I start at negative 330. Oh, sorry, 300. I start at 360. It's negative 360, negative 360, and I'm going in a positive direction, so I add 30 degrees. Now I know that my reference angle is 30. So this equals tan in my first quadrant is positive, and it's the positive tan of 30 degrees. I'm going to do my cast diagram. Not my cast diagram. My special triangle, 30, 60, 1 to square root 3. And then the tan of 30, there's 30. Tan is opposite over hypotenuse. Opposite over adjacent. So it's 1 over square root 3.